thank you to everyone for helping to move this advocacy into action this past fiscal year. Now I'd like to introduce the CMT Board Chair, June McAllister Fowler, for the business and award portion of this program. Thank you, June, for all of your work and leadership over the last year. June is truly an unbelievable, consummate leader, unflappable under any circumstance, including a pandemic. Thank you, June, for your leadership and steadfast commitment to transit. We all know in June's book, everything is groovy. So I'm going to turn it over to June right now. Thank you, June. June, you're muted.
Thank you. That is the new language of our times. You are on mute. You know, you can see everybody moving their mouths and saying nothing because they're on mute. So thank you for that introduction, Kim. Yes, everything is groovy and will be groovy as we continue to move forward. Good morning to everyone. Thank you so much for being here today in World Virtual. Before we begin the awards portion of our meeting, we need to conduct a quick business session to elect members of the Board of Directors. The nominating committee has met and would like to nominate the following people to 3-year terms on the Board of Directors. Aaron Burnett of Bywater Development Group, Lynn Tinges of AGC of Missouri, and Dustin Ramage of Southwestern Illinois Laborers District Council. Is there a motion, please?
Motion to approve the recommendations of the nominating committee.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you so much. The motion has been made and seconded. Are there any questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by typing aye in the chat box. I don't see any if there's anyone who's opposed, do that as well. I see all ayes, so the slate is elected. Thank you very much. Next, we need to elect the officers for the coming year. I am so pleased to share that I will be succeeded in this role by Hart Nelson, and the organization will be in excellent hands under Hart. Vice Chairs, DeAndre Braddix, Nancy E. Cross, and Sheila Holm. Secretary, Robert Blaine. Treasurer, Carlos Sanfilippo. And I will serve as past chair, and Director at Large, Adela Jones. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the slate as nominated.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. The motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, again, signify by typing aye in the chat box. If anyone is opposed, I am seeing all ayes. The director's officer slate is also elected. Thank you to the nominating committee for your work, and congratulations to our new board members, to our continuing board members. We thank you for the service you will continue to provide, and to our officers, congratulations. Now I would like to thank 2 individuals who served on the Citizens for Modern Transit Board for a number of years. Their terms of service end this year, Jennifer Obertino and Sheila Kimlinger. Thank you, Jennifer and Sheila, for your time, your dedication, and your commitment to CMT and transit in the St. Louis region. It is very much appreciated. You brought much wisdom and actual fun to our organization, and we certainly appreciate you. We sent a tangible thank you to both Jennifer and Sheila earlier this month. Now, I also want to take a moment to thank another individual who is actually ending 2 decades of service on the CMT board, Don C. Music III. Don's commitment over the last 20 years has had no bounds, from leading the charge as the chair of the organization for more than 5 years, to his long tenure on the board and executive committee, his service to the community, and his support of transit, and he has done so much more. Don has been the consummate go-to, what I call development business guy, when it comes to connecting development and transit. And he continues to advocate for transit in his current development projects in Ferguson and Florissant. Let's take a quick moment and see some of Don's leadership in action. Don, I hope you enjoyed that trip down memory lane. You know, we often hear Don say that, well, if ever there is a man more misunderstood, he thinks it's himself. But we believe there's a quote from John F. Kennedy that sums up Don's huge heart and his commitments. And it's for courage, not complacency. That's our need today. Leadership, not salesmanship. And the only valid test of leadership is the ability to lead and lead vigorously. Thank you, Don, for leading this organization through some challenging times over the past 20 years. We are so pleased to recognize you with the CMT Service Award. And we know that you will continue to provide your counsel. You may think you're leaving the board, but we'll never let you go. So thank you, Don. And we'd like to give you this opportunity to share a few words. Don?
Don is muted. So
How about now?
Oh.
So it's been a great run. It really has. And I've learned an awful lot at CMT. I've had the honor and privilege of working with such great people. Kim, June, Rose, Nancy, the rest of the CMT board, the people that have come and gone, I've established good friendships with and relationships with. It's really been an honor and a privilege to serve the CMT board for so many years. And I think CMT afforded me the vehicle and the opportunity to make a difference in our community. And that's what's most important to me, particularly at this time. So I thank you all for your support. I thank you for this this award, which is way overdone. I've been honored to do what I was able to do, and hopefully we did make a difference. I'll always have a spot in my heart for CMT, and I won't drift too far away if needed. So thank you all very, very much.
So Don, we are giving you a virtual round of applause and an appropriate socially distanced hug to thank you for everything you've done. And I know you've got to go hop on a plane to head across the state, but please know how much your participation and your leadership has meant not only to CMT, but to the St. Louis region. So Don, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thanks so much, June.
Wonderful. And Don, I hope you're having a chance to read the chats. They're great.
I'm stunned. Stunned.
So We will move forward. Each year, CMT honors groups and individuals who have demonstrated exemplary commitment to public transit. Today, in partnership with AARP in St. Louis, we would like to honor the City of Maplewood and Citizens National Bank for their commitment to furthering transit in the region through the Maplewood Metro Bus Transformation Project. Let's take a moment to hear and see a little bit more about this very innovative project.
Over the last several years, CMT and AARP have been doing pop-up metro markets at stations across the St. Louis area for people to visualize what could be around a transit stop or a transit station.
We were talking about wanting to have a permanent installation, something that we can hang our hat on, say that this is something that we were able to bring to a community that really impacted the community from a transit standpoint.
Originally, this bus stop was just an older bus shelter, not very much around it.
It had a big old tie wall planter and evergreens that had kind of overgrown, and then we were approached by Citizens for Modern Transit in the city of Maplewood and others to change the look.
And what we've been able to do with the design of this bus stop is add an interactive play element with the hopscotch that you see.
It's just a lot better look. It spiffed up the corner quite a bit.
This project started out with engaging the community from the beginning, and so they really had a stake in what this looks like today.
So we met at a local restaurant, a coffee house, and we asked the community, what would you like to see in this space?
They were talking about what community meant to them. The concept really came from the idea of the front porch. This is really the place where you welcome and communicate and embrace kind of your neighbors. It's your front door to the outside world.
And this is the result. They wanted it bright and active, or it integrated with the park.
It really showcases who we are as a community, that we bring together people and we enjoy hanging out as a community. So we really were grateful to have something like this help showcase who we are.
It doesn't necessarily look like a transit stop. It looks like a place to just sit down and talk to your neighbors, it's a meeting place for friends.
And we're so excited to use this as a pilot for other stations in the St. Louis community.
So that's our hope, is that this will be a template that we can use with other communities or organizations.
This template provides something where maybe there's some new activity or some new excitement even around existing bus stops and entry points. So finding new ways to access our system, new customers, and new parts of the community. We need to become innovative and exciting. This is part of that.
Congratulations to our recipients of this award. You know, as Sheila and Kim shared, this really was our first foray into permanent placemaking. And as Talby said, you know, it kind of provides a glide path to where we can go in the future together. This would not have been possible without these two partners. So congratulations to Tim Roden, President of Citizens National Bank, and Laura Miller, Community Development Director for the City of Maplewood. Please accept the 2020 CMT Chairman's Award. Congratulations to you both. Laura, if you would please come off mute and share your remarks, that would be great.
Thank you. Well, on behalf of the City of Maplewood, we are honored to be presented with this award. When the city was first approached about the notion of transforming the bus stop, I wasn't sure what to expect. I spent time with Kim and Sheila learning about CMT and AARP's efforts around placemaking and transit, and thinking about spaces we use to get around the city and how these spaces make people feel. And I couldn't imagine why we wouldn't partner on this endeavor. This once unassuming bus stop in the heart of our downtown area is now a vibrant, lively, and inviting space. It really speaks to who we are as a community. It's a place that you want to be. And it's a place where we encourage transit riders to stop and explore what Maplewood has to offer. I want to thank our residents and our business owners and transit riders for engaging in the process. And of course, Citizens National Bank for your continued support and partnership in the community. This project would not have been possible without you. And Citizens for Modern Transit and ARP, thank you for choosing Maplewood for this pilot program. We wish you much success with the future transformations that you have planned. And just know we have plenty of other bus stops here in Maplewood, and we would love to partner with you again. It was really an honor. And Kim, you made it so much fun, and Sheila, really enjoyed it and enjoyed getting to know you both. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura, and congratulations. Unfortunately, Tim Roden, the president of Citizens National Bank, was called into a meeting, but he did share some words that I'm going to ask Kim to read on behalf of Tim. So Kim?
Thank you, June. So this is Tim's statement. We regret not to be able to attend in person today and want you all to know how much we truly enjoyed being a part of the process to transform the transit stop. Having been a part of the Maplewood community for many years, we recognize the important role transit has played and continues to play in the evolution of the Maplewood area. It connects us to the downtown area and brings patrons to our very walkable storefronts and businesses, many of which are locally owned. This project was such a clever collaboration, and we were thrilled to have been a part of it. After all, it is right in our front yard. Many thanks to Citizens for Modern Transit, AARP, Kaboom, and the City of Maplewood for bringing this idea to life. Thank you for recognizing us and for supporting our community.
Thank you, Kim. And again, congratulations to Laura and Tim for everything you did to make this come to fruition, and certainly to Sheila and AARP. You know, each year we look for projects that are not only making a difference right now around transit, but ones that set a benchmark for future projects. The Metro Landing in Swansea, a new senior housing development at the Swansea Metrolink station, is a project that does just that. Let's take a look and see the impact this project is making.
Metro Landing was really a unique opportunity, I think, for our organization and our development partner, the Southwestern Illinois Development Authority, or SWIDA. We had decided that we felt like it would be good to joint venture on a senior development somewhere in the Metro East.
And when we were looking for land to purchase, you know, I drove around several spots and I kind of thought, you know, if this was reasonable, this would really make sense because of everything that's around here. Just got so much going on in this area.
Swansea was very excited to have this development. It gives our residents, our senior residents, a place to be, a place to live. It's close to shopping, it's close to grocery stores, doctor's offices, so it's a great spot, a great area. With the Metrolink, we've got everything here that you could possibly need. It's a perfect location.
The interesting thing about that particular site is, I think all parties agree, it was kind of overdeveloped in terms of how much parking was connected to the Metrolink station itself. And honestly, it left kind of space for opportunity.
We're really proud of it because it's the very first transportation-oriented development on this side of the river. And I've seen the value that these sorts of developments can bring to Metrolink sites. It hasn't been any different here.
We're always looking for ways to best connect residents of our development with community resources, and its connection to transit in particular really kind of made it a gold star, you know, kind of scenario. And I think it turned it into a situation where all the parties involved really got behind the effort and all, you know, pulled the difficult rope in the same direction.
The proximity to the Metrolink station was a big selling point. Locating near a transit station connects people to their broader community.
Our vision really is a comprehensive development where you put a pin right in the middle of where the Metrolink station is, and you have mixed-use development all around it. You've got residential, you've got senior housing, you've got services, you've got retail. You know, really everything that a person needs is right there.
One of the things that comes up in development in all communities is precedent. Has something worked in another location? And we're hopeful that Metro Landing helps to move the needle in that regard. And there's certainly opportunities throughout the entire metro system for additional transit-oriented development.
Thank you, and congratulations to everyone involved in this project. We've got several who are going to share some remarks. I'm going to call first on J. David Dobson, the CEO of Bywater Development Group. David?
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. On behalf of the entire development team, I'd like to sincerely thank the Citizens for Modern Transit for recognizing Metro Landing at Swansea with the new 2020 New Initiatives Award. On a fundamental level, Metro Landing is providing a new high-quality, affordable housing opportunity for the community. Beyond this, though, our location on the Swansea Metro Station site opens up an array of other positive TOD-related outcomes. Some of these include confirming the importance of transit access as a true community amenity, increasing the ridership of Metro's transit assets, enhancing the security of the Metro station by the addition of 62 new eyes on the street, establishing a new sense of place for that Metro station, and perhaps most importantly, acting as a catalyst for continued residential and mixed-use development around the Swansea Metro site. We strongly believe that Metro Landing is, in fact, advancing all of these goals, and we're already beginning to see robust new interest in additional new development at the Swansea Metro site. As you saw in the video, especially if you looked at the credits at the end, there are so many strategic partners that work together toward the success of this development. In our view, there really is a big difference between development done with the community versus development done to the community. We've seen that from time to time, haven't we? Metro Landing is a great example of the power of collaboration. The honor received here today belongs to this entire network of team members, supporters, and stakeholders. There's another thing we think everyone needs to be aware of, and that is the work of Bi-State Development Agency in advancing and supporting transit-oriented development, including Metro Landing, could not be more valuable. The proactive, professional, and get-her-done approach of John Langa and his team and the whole Bi-State organization has been exemplary. Metro Landing would have never been possible without Bi-State's leadership and hard work, so we thank them for that. Finally, we sincerely want to thank CMT for being the tireless champion and advocate for the growth, expansion, and improvement of our region's transit system. And we thank you very much for this recognition.
Thank you, David. I'd now like to call on Alan Quick, Director of Strategic Planning and Research for the Illinois Housing Development Authority, to share remarks. Alan?
Hello, everybody. I'm trying to start my video. Hi. We don't actually get the opportunity to speak too often to such a worthy endeavor. We come in to fund affordable housing development projects, and we're very rarely involved so intimately in the planning of a project. So we had the extreme pleasure of being part of the initial conversations with the Bywater team and the SWANSEA team about this Swansea project. And we really enjoyed being part of that because locating housing near transit, locating housing near amenities has been a critical part of where IDA would like to go. We'd like to see all of our housing that we develop be located in areas like this Swansea Metro Landing project is located. This is a project that is a treasure to the region, or will be a treasure to the region as it continues to be part of the Swansea fabric and it really brings opportunity where a lot of other projects do not, because of its link to transit and because of its link to amenities. We couldn't be prouder of how this project turned out. And we are looking to do more projects in the region just like this one, serving different populations and serving the need of the region, and really looking at linking to transit and linking to amenities moving forward. So I really, from my perspective, it was a real treat to be involved, just from the funding aspect, but also just to be clued into all of the great work that went into making this project possible. So I just want to thank everybody for that opportunity, and I hope that the development team knows what it meant to me personally, but also to IDA as an organization. So looking forward to more partnerships of this type.
Thank you so much, Alan. And we also would like to recognize the other partners in this project. Our newest board member, Aaron Burnett, who is president of Bywater Development Group, Mike Lundy, the executive director of Southwestern Illinois Development Authority, the Honorable Michael Leopold, the mayor of the village of Swansea. So we're honored to recognize all of you and your partners with the 2020 New Initiatives Award. Congratulations. Finally, we're excited to honor Mission St. Louis this year on their workforce development partnership with CMT to remove the transportation barrier for individuals working to enter the job market. Let's learn a little bit more about Mission St. Louis's program.
We want to help with, eliminate poverty by empowering individuals to sustain employment. So Mission St. Louis has a strong passion for community individuals, with helping them to skill up and to do better in their work environment for a better job or to get a job in workforce development. A lot of times individuals who are under-resourced or underpaid in those areas, or who have backgrounds and felonies and things like that, a lot of times they need assistance with work. They need assistance with interviewing. They need assistance with the right interview attire, resume writing. They need those skills to come in to be able to maintain a job and sustain self-sufficiency for them and their families and their children. But if they don't have a way back and forth to work, they can't sustain that employment. Citizens for Modern Transit help Mission St. Louis and our Workforce Development Department fill a gap. The Try and Ride program was a place that we were looking for to help our individuals with transportation. When you first get a job, you don't always have the money to even purchase the bus tickets and the bus passes that you need to get back and forth. So when transit came on as a partnership, they allowed that opportunity for our participants, and it opened up a great door for them. Now they have the confidence and they have the bus tickets from Citizens for Modern Transit, and they can get back and forth to work. And there's no longer a barrier where they will worry about, how am I going to get to work? How am I going to get home? We're proud to partner with Citizens for Modern Transit.
Congratulations to Mission St. Louis on your work to break down barriers to job access with transit. With the new, and we are pleased to award the 2020 New Initiatives Award to Mission St. Louis, represented today by Crystal Rogers, a participant of Mission St. Louis and now an employee. Congratulations on both fronts, Crystal. I look forward to hearing your remarks. Ms. Rogers?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I am so grateful for the CMT Award. I was worried about getting back and forth to my new employment, and I had limited money to pay for my transportation. The bus tickets from the CMT provided me with my first paycheck. I also like having the option through the Tri-Ride. And in the event that I was stranded, I will be able to get home without any worries. So on the behalf of Mission St. Louis and our workforce development team, we want to thank the citizens for the modern transit for partnering with our agency. And I thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you so much to all of our award winners today, and congratulations to all of you. I think there would be a roaring round of applause if we were in person, so just know that there is a significant virtual round of applause going on right now. It is truly amazing to see the breadth and depth of work moving advocacy into action in the St. Louis region. I'd like to take this opportunity to publicly thank CMT's team of volunteers as well, including our 10-toe walk leaders and our General Counsel, Larry Katzenstein. Thank you so much for your help each and every year. This year, we have a unique opportunity for our keynote presentation to look at the opportunities around transit, not only from the advocacy side, but also from the agency side. I am honored today to introduce two formidable women in their own rights, but together, watch out. Welcome back to CMT Board Chair June McAllister Fowler, who is also the BJC's Healthcare Senior VP of Communications, Marketing, and Public Affairs, and Bi-State Development Board of Commissioners Chair Rose Windmiller, who is Washington University's Associate Chancellor of Governmental Relations and College Readiness Programs. I have had the honor and the privilege to work with both of these women in their roles as chair of CMT. And I can honestly say that their commitment, tenacity, and authenticity are just inspiring. I consider myself extremely lucky to have had the opportunity to work with both of these women through CMT, and I think that you are really going to enjoy what they have to say today. So welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
So today, we're going to make this more of a conversation than a presentation. So if you have questions for Rose and June, please add those to the chat box, and I promise I will try to get to as many as possible. So to begin, I'd like each of our ladies that are joining us, June and Rose, if you could please provide a little bit of background on how you came to be and your roles as chairs of the region's transit advocacy organization and the transit agency. June, would you like to start today?
Sure, thanks, Kim. Hello again, everyone. So I started my career as an urban planner and have always believed in and had a role in advocating for the importance of public transportation. You know, at one time, I was actually the county's liaison to the Bi-State Development Agency, and remember being at board meetings and watching Citizens for Modern Transit very effectively advocate for the importance of public transit. I thought it was a very important role for a non-elected, non-governmental officials to take on, representing riders, businesses, and citizens who knew that public transportation was an important key to a thriving region. Many years, a couple of careers later, I was invited to join the board. And when I was asked, the immediate yes.
Thank you, June. Thank you very much. I'm sorry. Rose, you're up. Did we lose Rose?
The gallery view.
Rose, can you hear us?
Rose is still on, I think.
Well, as we're waiting for Rose, I do want to remind you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Sorry about that. I switched. I was listening. At first, I was listening through my headphones, but through my screen, but now I'm through my headphones. So I apologize for that. So I wanted to say, first of all, thank you, Kim, for allowing me this opportunity to be on a very auspicious panel with someone like June Fowler, who has been a mentor to me and has been an incredible asset to this region for so long. So Actually, before we start, there is something I wanted to say at this time, and I know that everyone has probably heard by now that Bill Danforth passed away yesterday. And it goes to actually a little bit about my background in transit, because what many of you may not know is that Bill Danforth was one of the founding members of CMT. He brought Washington University into CMT. He was one of the people who dipped his first toe in the water to say we need a public advocacy agency to support bi-state, to support bringing public transit in terms of Metrolink here. And when I worked for and with Bill and Bob Blackburn, I became one of the people at the university who was most involved day to day in making sure that the university always understood the importance of transit. So I would just like to say I'm so sorry about Bill's death. It's a huge loss for our community. It's a huge loss for public transit, and may he rest in peace. So just wanted to give that shout out to Bill. So I've been involved in transit basically for my whole professional career, but my support for public transit started a long time ago, because when I was in high school, I took the bus to school. I went to school in the city, but I grew up in North County. I've always been a supporter of public transit. My parents thought it was absolutely essential that their 8 kids got around on public transit. We didn't all have cars. So I've been a transit rider my whole life. I was appointed to the Bi-State Board in 2018, and I was elected chair this year. It's a great honor. I'm very happy that my colleagues and the community feels the need to support public transit through Bi-State. I personally think that transit is really integral to all communities. It's going to undoubtedly change in the coming years, and it's going to look very different from today's systems. But it's always going to be a part of our lives, and I'm always going to be happy to support it.
Thank you. Thank you for providing a little bit of background. So before we get into maybe a couple of the more challenging questions, how about if we hear one little piece of trivia about each of you so that people get a chance to know you just a tad bit better before we jump into some of the more serious questions. Rose, would you like to go first?
Oh, sure. So anyone on the call that knows me knows that I am a pretty avid exerciser daily. I'm a runner. Sometimes I walk, but that's a really important part of my day. I get up and I exercise first thing, and it really clears my head for my day. But what you probably don't know about me, and it's something that I'm kind of embarrassed to admit, but I was thinking about it just the other day because I ordered takeout Chinese. I'm chopstick challenged. I don't know if anybody else on this call is, but I have tried for years to master chopsticks. I just don't have the manual dexterity to do so, and I'm admitting it on this call that's being recorded.
Thank you, Rose, for that little bit of trivia.
Rose,
Jude, would you like to share something?
I don't have anything quite that cool. Rose, you know, there's probably a 12-step program for that. Or some people on the call who can teach you. I am just like you. I can't use chopsticks either. Everybody in my family can. I hit it right for the fork. You know, a little bit of trivia about me. Some people do know this. It's kind of in that same exercise vein as Rose. And Rose, thank you for those lovely remarks. I could just echo them right back to you. You are a just jewel for this region, and your servant leadership is just so appreciated. So if we haven't told you lately, please know how much we appreciate everything you're doing. You know, you are in the exact right job because it fuels your passion and allows you to serve this community. So back to what you asked me, Kim, the trivia. I started taking tap dance lessons as an adult in 2000. It is a great stress reliever because when you are tapping, you cannot think about anything other than what your feet are doing. So it gives me the ability, I take it every Tuesday night on Tuesday nights, to just clear my mind for an hour and a half and think about, you know, tapping on my whole toe tap. And much to my dismay, the studio where I now tap, they have an annual recital. And those of you who may have been in dance as kids or have children or grandchildren or nieces, cousins, you know, a recital of a dance studio is watching 1,000, primarily little girls in tutus. So I don't ever tell anybody when this recital is, so I support it financially, but I don't let anybody come. And that helps me to get through our adult performance. So that's that little piece of trivia about me.
So I think that's fantastic. Thank you so much. So now to our chopstick challenged and toe tapping panel. This question I think people are really wondering about, but you both represent some of the largest institutions and employers in the St. Louis region, Washington University and BJC Healthcare, respectively. What does each of your roles in the transit arena mean to your organizations? Bottom line, what is the most valuable aspect of transit to your day jobs? I think that that's really important that people understand where you're coming from. June, would you like to go first?
I'll start. So at BJC, we have hospitals and large administrative centers located at or near a number of key transit and public transportation hubs across the region, you know, not only on the St. Louis side of the river, but also the Illinois side of the river. So our patients and our team members use transportation for access to healthcare services and their jobs. Like Rose, I started taking the bus to my teenage job when I was 14 and have continued to use transit quite a bit and public transportation. But I have a choice. As I was listening to one of our award recipient talk about the fact that, you know, there sometimes is not choice in whether you get in your car or whether you use public transportation. And the same is true for many of our employees and many of our patients. So being able in my role at BJC to partner with Bi-State and advocate for expansions of public transit so that, again, patients and employees have connections to the vital services that they need is really, really important to us at BJC. The busiest Metrolink stop on the system is actually on our joint academic medical campus in the Central West End. And so being a member of CMT is therefore not only personal, there's not only a personal commitment, but it's important to many of us across BJC Healthcare, from leadership to our board to our team members.
Thank you, June. Rose?
So I can really echo a lot of what June says. First, I should be clear that my representation on the Bi-State board is personal. I don't represent the university. All of the commissioners represent themselves. They don't represent institutions. And I think that's an important distinction. But I will say that public transit is critical to Washington University, and it always will be. Our mission of education and research and patient care is enhanced by public transit. It brings our employees to our campuses. It provides transportation to thousands of patients, as June indicated, who come to the medical center campus. And it really allows us to plan increasingly limited land use around transit stations and hubs, rather than building and maintaining parking lots and garages. It's a really valuable tool for any employer. It provides options for workers and customers. I believe that my role is to always be an advocate and a voice for transit with the university's leadership. And another valuable voice is my friend and colleague, Robert Blaine, who is on this call today. He is on the CMT board, and Robert is a daily Metro rider. So, you know, just call out to Robert on this, but whether I'm representing the university internally in support of public transit, or whether I'm wearing my hat as the Bi-State Board Commissioner, what I think is most important is that people understand the value of public transit to a region, not just an urban region like the St. Louis bi-state region, but to rural communities. If we don't have public transit, we are basically denying access to transportation and allowing people to move from place to place, particularly for under-resourced and underrepresented groups, and that's never going to be okay.
Thank you. So, June, we have a quick question in the chat box to follow up on what you just said. The question is, I believe in addition to your patients, employees using transit, I think that contractors like the food service staff can also get discounted or free transit passes. This is one of our members, Crystal Howard, and her son was a chef at BJC as a BJC contractor for a few years and loved his free pass. So she just wanted to clarify that you extended, I believe maybe both of you extended beyond just your staff and students.
Yes.
And patients.
That is true. I'll share this. BJC kind of took our lead from Washington University, who started providing free public transportation passes to their staff and students many years ago, several years ago, and we offered discounts, and then looked at some of our team members who we knew could benefit by not only having a discount, but having actually a free pass. So we offered that to many of our food service and maintenance workers.
We also offer it to our contract employees, and it's used quite a bit.
Yep. Thanks, Rose. So this last 7 months has really demonstrated the essentialness of transit in our communities, delivering people to essential jobs for essential services. But we really are in a challenging time in the community right now. In the midst of this pandemic, we also have racial unrest. We're seeing gun violence and economic issues. With all that in mind, why do you both believe that transit is essential now in this community and into the future?
Yeah, so I'll start. It's all about connections and decreasing distance. And for so many in our community who are challenged by, life circumstances, public transportation is a way to connect people to not only where they want to go, but where they need to go. I believe truly the only sustainable way to uplift a community is through access to employment. We can put in place lots of programs, and it's important to do that, but until people have access to a job and the ability to get to that job, life will continue to be difficult. A transit and public transportation system is critical to providing that access for people who depend on it as not only their best means of transportation, but sometimes their only means of transportation. Without it, there are some unintended consequences to not only our economy, but also our quality of life. Again, I often think of things that people often don't give credit to transit for providing. So we have less congested roadways when we have public transportation. We have improved air quality when we have public transportation. And we also have a decrease in personal cost for people when they utilize public transportation rather than always using a personal automobile. So that's why I think, in these times we're in, as we look at, how do we move forward as a community, as a region, transit has to be a part of the conversation.
Thank you. Thank you, June.
So when you think about issues involving equity, it really is about leveling a playing field that has been notoriously and historically unequal. And I think one of the things that does that in a really positive and present way that people can see is public transit. Doesn't necessarily mean that, anyone can use it. And so in that regard, it is an equitable infrastructure project. But it's also the fact that when you interact with people who you might not in your particular neighborhood or at your workplace, I think it's a good thing to see all different people on public transit. That's one of the things that's appealing about it to me. And as far as I'm concerned, it's never been more important than it is now. And I'm going to say I'm very proud of the efforts that have been put forth by the leadership and the employees of Bi-State during this pandemic. These bus and train operators, they have continued to show up to work every day to provide transportation to our essential workers. I'd say that they've put their lives and their health on the line sometimes, particularly in the beginning of the pandemic when we weren't sure how it was transmitted and things like that. I mean, Bi-State itself has done a great job to keep its passengers and its customers and its operators safe, but it was still risky in the beginning. Bi-State's been at the forefront of implementing strategies such as physical distancing and mandatory mask usage and constant and vigilant cleaning of all the vehicles. I believe the system is safe, not only from a virus standpoint, but I also believe that we continue to make improvements in safety and security on our vehicles, on our trains, our buses, and on our platforms, and in the areas around our stations. So this is an infrastructure project that will continue to go on. And not only does it deserve our attention, it deserves our support, and it deserves anything that, it deserves our constant, vigilant work toward making it more equitable for everyone.
Thank you. We couldn't agree with you more, Rose, on the part of our hats are off to Metro operators and staff for what they have delivered during the pandemic for the last several months, and also the operators across the state of Missouri. So you're going to see a little bit about that at the end of our program today, just because we want to thank them all for their service. It's been amazing over the last 7 months. So thanks to both of you. So this question is always near and dear to my heart, but what do you see are the opportunities for partnership between advocacy and agency in the future? Where do you see that meeting point, and what do you see moving forward?
So I actually think, partnerships are really critical. They're crucial. I think that Bi-State needs to be in constant communication with its customers. We need to better explain our product to the business community, and we need to be a cheerleader for our service. We also need to be held accountable for the totality of our service. Not only is it on time, but is it meeting community needs? Is it safe? How can the entire organization partner with CMT and other organizations like it to improve service, including safety and security? I mean, Bi-State cannot operate, in a vacuum or a bubble. It has to be part of the conversation. It can lead the conversation. Sometimes it needs to be just a partner at the table. We need to be held responsible for our actions, our products, and we need to let the region know that we hold ourselves accountable, and we're willing to let appropriate external organizations examine our practices, our procedures, our products to make us more accountable. So that's what I see as my role as a Bi-State board member, to support and uplift the people that are running that organization, and they're doing a good job, but also to recognize that they can't do it in a vacuum, that they have to partner with other people. And there's many other organizations out there that can be helpful and supportive to public transit and to the agency.
Thank you.
I would answer that by saying, past is kind of prologue when it comes to the agency and us as the advocacy organization. We've partnered very effectively in the past in a number of ways that have helped to move transit forward, again, from achieving a dedicated sales tax to getting federal funding for the newest Cortex MetroLink stop, to working on safety and security for the system, and to, as we saw in the video, the Creative Maplewood Placemaking Project. At CMT, we're going to always live our mission of advocating for the users of public transit and public transportation. With Bi-State, we're going to continue with the agency. We're going to continue to push for state and federal dollars to support and expand the systems. However, as with any partnership, there may be times when we will have to be a bit of an irritant to the agency. We are two separate organizations with a very aligned mission. but there may be a time when there's a fork in the road and where we see things differently. You know, our commitment has been to work effectively to try to bridge our differences so that we can continue to move transit forward. We're always going to look for a solution that ensures an outcome that we can both support. So I think of what Rose said about the drivers and the operators and all of the people behind the scenes that make public transportation work. We support them wholeheartedly. And we also know that there are times when there is a need for difficult conversations between the agency and the riders and the operators. And what we want to do as CMT is to make sure that we're able to help to, again, continue to move transit and public transportation forward for the riders. So that's you know, again, I think we have partnered effectively. We haven't always seen things in the same way, but we have always, I believe, been able to come to common ground.
Thank you. And I want to thank you both for your honest answers as a part of this discussion. I think it's really important as we move forward to have these dialogues about public transit, and I really appreciate where you're coming from today. So both of you have been working tirelessly in the transit space for some time. What in your mind has been the most significant hurdle in this community to a general understanding that this region needs transit, whether you ride it or not? You know, that slogan, transit, some of us ride it, all of us need it, came out in 2010, and it's just as important today as it was in 2010. So I really, what have you seen as the most significant hurdle?
So I'll go first. You know, I absolutely love the Cardinals and I love the Blues, but I do worry that sometimes from the general public standpoint, they believe that that's what public transit is for. That's what public transportation is for, is to get people from, you know, to get them conveniently to an entertainment venue. That's important. But I think the true role and mission of transit is to connect people in the community with jobs. You know, first, second, and third. That's what I wish people, the general public, would understand. And I wish we could overcome the, I don't want to call it a stigma, but I wish we could overcome this belief that if I don't need to use transit, I don't have to advocate for it. I don't have to think about it. I want it to be there when I want to go somewhere, but I'm not thinking about the fact that it truly is part of the fabric of our economic viability in this region. And I think, as Rose said earlier, I think it is a social justice issue. You know, people who don't have the ability to purchase an automobile or have another, you know, have a family member who can get them where they need to be every day, they depend on public transit. And those of us who live in this community depend on a holistic set of jobs to make this community work. So you know, that's, like I say, I love the sports teams. That's not where my heart is when it comes to the importance of public transit.
Thank you.
I couldn't agree more. Here's the thing. If you turn that argument on its ear and you made the argument with your neighbors, well, we don't really need a highway system, or we don't need a city county arterial road system, because I don't drive, or I don't drive on it that much. I don't take Highway 64, so what's the point of it? I mean, people would look at, you would be laughed out of your neighborhood barbecue. So why don't we feel that same way about public transit? Why don't we, as far as I'm concerned, our job is to open each other's eyes, and everyone needs to be an advocate for transit. We also need to listen respectfully to those who argue that public transit is too expensive, or it's not needed, or it's unsafe, or you know, it's really behind the times because it doesn't keep up with, you know, other things like, you know, Uber and rideshare and ride sharing programs. So some of those are legitimate arguments, and we need to listen to those arguments, and we also need to find quantifiable data that supports why transit is something that we need to support, and it is an economically important part of any community's infrastructure. So those are the, you know, you're not going to convince everybody, but as far as I'm concerned, it can't be an us them mentality, and we can't just discount all the arguments that people make about transit's you know, expense, or that it's not futuristic, or it's not keeping up, or that it's unsafe. We have to meet people where they are, and we have to do it again and again and again until we're blue in the face. And finally, we all need to start using it regularly. I don't know why, you know, all of us couldn't make a commitment to say, I'm going to take transit once a month to work. And then maybe it becomes once a week. And I know it's not convenient for everyone. And I know sometimes it might add some time to your commute. But if everybody who advocates for public transit, all the CMT members, myself included, sometimes, you know, during the pandemic, I haven't taken it as much as I have, but, you know, I made a commitment that I'm taking it to every single bi-state board meeting. And, you know, it makes you a little bit healthier because I walk to a station and get on the train. So I just think that we need to not discount people who are opposed to transit. We need to listen to their arguments, and we need to be able to provide quantifiable data about why those arguments are not valid. And we need to start using it regularly because ridership is critical.
Thank you. And we could not agree more, Rose. That is why we did our economic impact study of public transit last year, and we're going to continue to build on the results of that study. So we agree with that as well. There is a question from our audience before we move on to our final question. How do you see public transit overcoming competition from car share, Uber, Lyft, et cetera? And I know you just touched on that just a little bit, Rose. So I don't know if either of you would like to jump on that one.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
How do you see transit overcoming the competition between car share, Uber, Lyft?
Got it. So yeah. I'll speak to this a little bit from the bi-state perspective. There has been some excellent planning among leadership at bi-state about meeting that first and last mile. So, you know, partnering with rideshare programs to get folks to either a transit station that's a little bit too far to walk, or a bus stop that's a little bit too far to walk. So I don't think it's a matter of being necessarily competitive with our existing system. I think it's a way that we need to find a way to collaborate with rideshare programs to make both them and the transit system stronger, because it's never going to be competitive with rideshare. If you know, and the other thing is, bi-state has become a little bit more adept at making sure that applications for mobile phones and devices are more readily available. So we just have to push ourselves a little bit more into the future, while also recognizing that some of our ridership doesn't necessarily have access to the best technology. So keeping their ability to pay by cash if they need to. So just, those are some of the things that I think are important. I don't know if that answered the question.
Oh, I think you got to it. June, did you want to jump in there?
And I think Rose said it at the end, you know, if we think of a system, and you think of, you know, kind of last miles of the way, and you know, they don't have to compete. They can actually be part of how you get from point A to B to C. And so I know in one of the planning sessions, you know, where they were imagining the future of transit, those kind of rideshare programs were considered, and how do you make that part of the systemness of getting people from point A to point B. But again, on that social justice piece, Rose talked about, not everybody has the ability to link their credit card to Uber or Lyft or those rideshare programs. So you're still going to need public transit to get people where they need to go.
Thank you. Thank you. So we have one final question, and we like to say at CMT, once we get you on the board of CMT, you're a lifer and you're not allowed to leave. So you can ask Don, you can ask June, once you're on, you're with us for life. But what would you like to see achieved through your work, both at CMT and by state, as in your roles as chairs? And I know, June, you're taking baby steps out of the chairmanship role, but you will still be on as past chair. But what would you like to see achieved through your work as a part of the agency and the advocacy organization in the St. Louis region?
So I'll start so that Rose can have the last word. My goal would really be a dedicated, sustainable funding allocation from Missouri to support public transportation. Kim, you talked about the CARES Act money, but we, across the state, from the OAT system to Metrolink to everything else, Missouri would do well to take a lesson from our next door neighbors in Illinois with respect to funding public transportation. It truly would benefit the entire state. I encourage those on this call to look at the economic impact study that CMT had done earlier. I guess it was late last year.
Right.
But again, it shows the return on investment for dollars in transit, in economic benefit to the state. And secondly, I would love to see more of the community join CMT. It's one of the most affordable ways to truly have an impact, a positive impact on our region. So those would be my two wishes for what, if I could wave, I've got a little pink wand here, if I could wave my pink magic wand and have what I want come to fruition. So thank you, Kim.
Thank you, June. Rose?
Oh, June, you're always such a damn hard act to follow. I completely concur on the funding piece of it. I mean, that's really crucial. I will back up a little bit from the funding piece to say that I would like to see our own community embrace transit in a way that they did about 20 years ago when Metrolink was really up and running, and ridership was increasing month to month and year to year. I'd like to see more people on the trains and buses, and I'd like our region to support future options related to public transit, whether it's additional rail lines, light rail lines, buses, or whether it's another form of public transit, including a collaboration with rideshare programs. I would really like to see our community regain its ridership. I want the riders to know that the journey is relaxing and safe. And I want our bi-state region to be proud of its transit system. And I would like elected officials to support public transit, not only with more funding, but with really good public policy. So those are the things that I would like to work toward as a board member and as chair.
Thank you. Thank you both so much for your time today and your leadership and your commitment to transit. I can honestly say that if your work is not inspiring to others to get involved, I don't really know what would be. You're both amazing in your own right, but together you truly are a formidable force and such a great voice for public transit in the St. Louis region. So thank you very much for talking with us today as a part of the annual meeting. I think it would be a standing ovation at this time for what you had to say if we were actually in person, but virtually, I think it is a virtual round of applause for both of you. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim.
I'd like to take a moment before we wrap up, and I'd like to thank the CMT staff, our program director, Mallory Box, and our office administrator, Juanita Schrum, for their support throughout the year. We might be a tiny office, but with all our partnerships, we like to think that some days we're mighty out there. So thank you very much. I'd also like to give a special thanks to Regular Guy Creative, who has created all these amazing videos to tell the story of transit for fiscal year 2020. He does an amazing job, and we couldn't do it without him. I'd also like to thank the Hauser Group, which is also an integral part of our team at Citizens for Modern Transit, and they are part of our office outside of our office. So thank you to the Hauser Group. And also thank you to Ironman Studios, who has helped us host this virtual event today. We don't have the IT capacity in our three-person team, so we're very happy to have partners on the outside who help us deliver this message, so thank you very much. As we head into fiscal year 2021, CMT will be focusing on 3 key areas of opportunity, and both of our keynotes talked about it a little bit: building support at the state and the local level for public transit, rebuilding ridership numbers, and maintaining the financial stability for the organization. You can be a part of our mission and join us. Remember, some of us ride it, but all of us need transit in this community. We're going to wrap today and celebrate and thank all of the transit providers in Missouri for their work, especially over the last 7 months. So hats off to Missouri Transit, and thank you very much for joining us for the 2020 Citizens for Modern Transit annual meeting. Have a great day. So 2020 saw some changes to daily life with the arrival of the pandemic, but what we saw throughout the entire year is that the essentialness of transit became more and more important. Local transit providers, as well as providers across the state and across the country, worked tirelessly to make sure that this essential service was providing access for everyone while keeping their operators and their riders safe.
I want to thank all our drivers, staff, colleagues across this great state and the MPTA for their efforts during this pandemic. Thank you. Together we'll get through this.
Hi everybody, I just wanted to thank all those in the transit industry in Missouri for staying open and keeping the buses going during the COVID pandemic, especially those at St. Joseph Transit.
A shout out to Metro Transit and all those heroes who are out on the street moving St. Louis. Thank you for all your hard work. Really appreciate everything that you do.
Thank you, SMTS, and for all public transportation workers for the courage and dedication that you have shown through the COVID-19 pandemic. Your hard work has kept Missouri moving forward.
I appreciate this opportunity to give a shout out to all transit workers throughout the state who have stepped up to the plate and continue to provide much needed services throughout this pandemic. I've never been more proud to be a part of transit than I have been these past few months. And I appreciate all the hard work my coworkers and my colleagues have done to assure essential services remained. Thank you.
Public transit is about people. You affect more people's lives than most people get to do in a lifetime. You are the ones that have kept our cities and our towns breathing during this crisis. You are the ones who are essential. You are the ones that allow people access to jobs, to education, to healthcare, all of it. Thank you. Thank you for everything you do. Stay safe and keep pushing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.